Hello guys, and there are more and more people that go out on protests inside the Russian Federation. These days, serious strikes were held in Irkutsk, Udmurtia, Novosibirsk, Tomsk, and Chelyabinsk. These people went out on the streets because they have too many problems with their federal budget, with their regional budgets, and of course with their personal budgets, and they fear the increase of VAT. What makes the whole situation very Russian and quite pathetic, they went out on the streets with slogans for Putin. For Putin, who actually signed a law increasing that VAT. And a more interesting approach was chosen in Bashkortostan. For a long period of time, they were signaling the Kremlin they have problems with their budget, and when the deficit reached almost 7%, and that is deadly for the republic, they decided to start selling the shares of Bashneft, once an extremely protected and valued company, but now perhaps totally ruined by the oil sanctions, both economic and drone. And the governor of Bashkortostan, the leader of Bashkortostan, decided to announce he will halve the payments to the Russian war criminals who joined the army. I think that is another good tactic in the only working peace plan to defeat and demilitarize Russia. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Putin in The Hague, subscribe, I'm sure we will discuss that on the channel sometime really soon, and share these videos to spread the truth. This helps a lot. Honestly, I do not have a lot of hope in the civil society inside Russia. It does not exist. Maybe after the defeat of the Kremlin regimes in 20, 30, 50 years, something will appear, but not at the moment. Anyway, when the economic troubles become very, very harsh, they do go out on the streets. And with each month, we see more and more of such protests appearing in very different parts of the Russian Federation, but quite often far from Moscow, exactly in the regions that suffer most from the stealing of the Kremlin, because most of the resources that are spent on Moscow and St. Petersburg are taken out of the far east of Russia, from Siberia, from Bashkortostan, and also because many people are conscripted from that regions, and it seriously changes the situation in them. So people went out on protests, and I actually had to make a list in Irkutsk, Novosibirsk, Chelyabinsk, Tomsk, Udmurtia. All of these people do not want any tax increases because they realize it will only destroy their businesses. We all know that in 2026, Putin wants more and more small Russian businesses to pay VAT. Actually, the threshold for entrepreneurs who have to pay it was seriously lowered, like 5 times. Previously, you had to have like 50 million turnover, and now 10 is enough. And from 20 to 22, that VAT has been risen, and Putin signed the law. So these people went out on the streets with slogans for Putin, za Putina. And this demonstrates the level of fear, the level of some serious troubles in the minds of these people, because they perhaps are afraid of him, they are afraid of the consequences. I'm sure they know he was the one who initiated this law. He was the one who signed it. He was the one who destroyed the budget of the Russian Federation after failing his blitzkrieg and not admitting that, and continuing to spend billions of dollars every night on the destruction of Ukrainian schools, instead of building these schools in Irkutsk, Chelyabinsk, Tomsk, or elsewhere. I do love it when on X or Instagram we come across photos of the Russian city, like Tomsk or Omsk, and there are comments of Russians, and these cities were not bombed, but they look worse as Ukraine under constant Russian attacks. Thumbs up if you agree with me, and remember to share. The algorithms of YouTube aren't very kind to us right now. I'm sure you see that, same as, this peace proposal and diplomacy that is not respectful to the ordinary Ukrainians. A more interesting move was taken in Bashkortostan, that is a republic with a great potential to become independent. And soon on a channel, we will have a very interesting interview with one of the representatives of the Free Nation League. That is a movement that fights for the freedom and independence of many nations now oppressed by the Kremlin regime. And I'm very proud of this conversation. Hope you will wait and like it. But Bashkortostan, they had a lot of problems, they had a lot of protests, and now they finally realized that the Kremlin does not hear them, that there is no hope that Putin or the Ministry of Finance can help them out. Spoiler, we all know they lack trillions of rubles in the federal budget, so how can they help Bashkortostan? And finally they realized it and announced that they will sell 6.3% of shares of Bashneft. You may guess Bashneft is Bash Oil. Previously successful company, but now as the Russian oil industry experiences the worst period in its history, perhaps they are ready to sell it, but the intention is to save not just the empty, but the super negative budget of Bashkortostan. Right now, and the year has not ended yet, they already lack 6.7%. They have no money for the basic needs of Bashkortostan. They gave lots of their money, lots of their people to the Kremlin to fulfill the dreams of the Kremlin goblin. And when they needed help, no help came. So they announced the sales of Bashneft shares. But together with that, they need to cut the expenditures, literally all expenditures. And this includes what they describe as contract payments, Russian army contract payments, literally the salaries of the Russian war criminals who decided to join the army just because they wanted to earn money and to loot in Ukraine. So they will halve these payments from 1 million to 500,000, and we're talking about rubles, and that's literally nothing. I have already stressed that when you read some reports from the Russian Federation, financial documents, you can come across only a numeral trillion, because ruble has lost its value. They artificially keep its rate, but it's nothing. And they measure their they measure their deficit in trillions. Once again, thumbs up for that. Let me know, would you invest in ruble? Because when I come across those EU leaders, American leaders who keep speaking about the strengths and wealth of the Russian Federation, the only thing I wish them is to have all of their assets in the Russian rubles. Just imagine Trump exchanging all his newly acquired billions in rubles. That would be fun to see. I was very honored to visit Jake Bro's channel, and if you haven't seen our conversation, do check, subscribe to Jake's channel, but I believe like all sane people are already there. I remember my very first interview on his channel, which helped grow our community too, and Jake is an amazing human being that does so much for the Ukrainian armed forces that I think he already has a brigade inside. And most importantly, he saved a lot of human lives. And I'm very honored and proud to know him and to say that Ukraine has such a friend. And also, join my Anna Danilchuk channel. That is a pretty new channel where there is a new video and a lot of important information taken directly from the toxic Russian media, but more and more of their generals, more and more of their captains speak about the systemic failures of the Russian missile programs, of the failed blitzkrieg, and totally wrong data that they collected with their intelligence services, and they actually tricked them into this failure. So do check, subscribe to that channel, and follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord, all the links in the description of this video, same as the link to our merch shop, with lots of really good items and 2 calendars, one with me and victories of Ukraine, and another one with beautiful places in Ukraine that I wish you will be able to see one beautiful day after the defeat of Russia. That's the only working peace plan and the only real security guarantee for Ukraine, Europe, and a big, beautiful country across the ocean. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, but most importantly, thank you for being friends of mine and friends of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!